Hello, Mustang fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore, along with my co host, Mike Ray. And tonight, Mike, we're going to explore the mind of a super collector, a super enthusiast. We're going to find out how someone goes to being a Mustang fan or a Ford fan into being someone that has a collection and a devotion to a brand that goes well beyond what you and I can experience in any of our lifetimes. How did we come across this guy tonight?
The cool thing for me, John, is this was the first tour I ever took of someone's private collection. So, before the Berardi collections and, the guys in Ohio and all that stuff, before I seen any of those collections, this collection was the first one I ever experienced. And all I could say was, wow.
Well, we hope that everybody on the podcast is going to say wow as well, because if you haven't heard of William Deary, you're going to know about him after tonight, and you'll know even more as the podcast gets more out on the road. Welcome tonight to William Deary, super Shelby collector, one of our great friends and a super Ford enthusiast. Welcome, William, to the Mustang Owners Podcast.
Oh, well, thank you very much. This is indeed a joy for me. And y'all know most car clubs have fans. And, when it comes to the Mustang and the Shelby, they're not fans, they're
Yeah.
fanatics. And the differentiation is huge. And so I'm really pleased. And it's really unique for me to have that honor to be a part of that.
Mike, let's face it, the honor is ours because we just being able to know William and be at his collection and go through with the club tours and know what he's up to. William and I have talked about when he's chasing some cars every once in a while, and he's rubbing shoulders he doesn't rub shoulders with Billy, the guy flipping burgers down at McDonald's. He's rubbing shoulders with guys like Edsel Ford, and you know what I mean? He's got a different life. So William, everybody in our neck of the woods knows about the William Deary collection. Your Shelby collection is second to none. I mean, there are a lot of people that have a lot of Shelbys, but you have gone beyond just collecting the car. You're more than a fan of Carroll Shelby. Your memorabilia collection is just off the charts. The way you've presented your love for the Shelby brand is off the charts. So the people that haven't been to your collection and seen you, I know after tonight, we'll share some news about that as well. But how in the heck? I mean, I'm not going to ask you how you became a Carroll Shelby fan, Mike. Who isn't?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And if they're not, they shouldn't be listening. Turn the podcast.
Or except that person, John, that that said, who is she?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. At a meeting, a young lady, I said, "Why are you in this meeting? Do you know who Carroll Shelby is? Wasn't she a race car driver?" So, William, how did you get involved with the car hobby, and then Mustangs and Fords, and then what was it about the Shelby brand that made you go to such lengths to make one of the world's outstanding collections? What happened, William?
Well, everybody, y'all know Mike Schneider, and what a great guy Mike was. I was a Navy kid. My dad was career military. And my senior year in high school, my dad brought us up to Michigan to visit his family that lived in the Detroit area and his brother who lived in Okemos. And so the day that we came up to Okemos and we visited my Uncle Mike and my Aunt Donna, we get out of the car and next door is this thing. And it is just absolutely beautiful. And I was not a car guy. To me, a car was how you got to school, how you got to church, how you got to the grocery store, right?
I can't believe that. Really?
And so I walk over and I was mesmerized and it kind of, the sci-fi movies where the beam sucks you in, right? This car, this thing sucks me over and I start looking at it and it's a 68 GT500KR convertible. And he starts talking to me about it and he starts, it sounds so cool. And you want to go for a ride? And I yell across the yard, "Hey Dad, I'm going for a ride with this guy." And when you could do that. That was the day I was bit. My background was very modest. We get back and I realize Mike is the richest guy in the world because he has a car that's got a 2-car garage. Okay, he has a car. His wife has a car, and then he has a car that is a toy. Okay, growing up, the son of an enlisted man in the Navy, I spent the first 10 years of my life living in government housing, right? We had never had a house with a garage. And so I'm mesmerized by this. And So I learn about a car show, and I go to it, and people are talking about trading this thing and that thing. And so if you remember back, I think it was in 81, SAC 8 that was at the big hotel out in Dearborn. I go and people are selling cars, and and I'm fascinated, but I'm not going to have $25,000 to buy a
Right.
Shelby.
Right.
But over in the swap meet, there's all of this cool Shelby stuff. There's tie tacks and beer mugs, and so at that point, I just started collecting stuff, for a quarter, 50 cents, a dollar. And when I went places, I knew I would never have a car, okay, because they were just too much money. But all this other cool stuff I collected, and um, only because it made me part of the Shelby family. And I think that's the thing that was so unique about Shelby is you didn't have to have a car to be a part of the Shelby family. Peter Brock understood the concept of brand before it was a concept, and he created it. And so just over the years, I collected stuff. And I remember the first time we moved, and I had my 3 boxes that had Shelby on them. And then the next time we moved, I had my 9 boxes. And at one point, my wife goes, "How many boxes of Shelby stuff do you have?" Eh. And so, today I think that's the big differentiator of our collection, and that we've got, about 3 dozen cars, all with the exception of one car, have some kind of a special story. But what's more unique is about 8,000
Well,
artifacts.
William, we can't
And
tell you how this is exciting to know this because Mike and I, Mike, isn't it for anybody listening to the podcast tonight, great to know that someone that has amassed a collection as wonderful as William Deary started with the stuff that you and I have, the stuff that you and I start. You can start out with a buck here or a pin there. You can actually start
We're still at
you've
that stage,
inspired me,
John.
William. Well, Mike, you're the same way. Every once in a
Yeah.
while, you buy it and you
Yep.
put it in a box. And so, everyone out there, if you think you'll never get that wonderful collection, you can't afford that car. William started out with his passion with the stuff, and
Yeah.
William's right. I mean, Mike, when you first walked in his collection, you saw the cars. Everyone looks at the cars, but then you saw the drawers and the posters and the pins. And I didn't even know, William. I know some Ford collectors from the '60s. We were at Perkins's shop,
Yeah.
remember, Mike?
Yeah.
And he's got stuff from dealers, and we know that. But
Yeah.
I didn't even know what you taught me, William, that Shelby had as much stuff, if not more than Ford did. You have insanely amount of great stuff I didn't even know existed. How did you find it?
Uh, I would go to car shows and swap meets and Shelby conventions. And I remember we lived in Texas at that time, and there was going to be a big Shelby convention in Dallas. And so Sherilyn and I sat down and figured out how much would the gas be and what was lunch. And we realized that if I went, I could get there and I could look around, but I could not buy a t-shirt and a hat. I wouldn't have enough money. But we still
Yeah.
went. And so doing all of these things and just collecting pieces, things that I thought were really cool. I never realized they would have value, but things that were really cool. There's a poster out on one of the social media things of this catalog.
Yeah.
Okay. And the catalog's mint, right? It's the poster's $850. I've got 2 posters and I've got 3 of these catalogs. And I probably paid 50 cents for
Yep.
them, right? Um, but just collecting this stuff, and then being able to tell the story, and being an ambassador of Ford,
Yeah.
and the special privileges that a dedicated ambassador can realize are
Well,
remarkable.
it's your exposure
Uh,
in that community, and when you got your first Shelby, I mean, obviously your business became successful, and you knew what you loved to do. Unfortunately, we know how hard it is to run a business and do all that, but you kept focused. I'm going to try to get this going, and you never lost sight of having what you have now. But building the collection, so was getting the cars together kind of like when you stumbled on something you really wanted, like a piece of memorabilia, and then one by one, that's how you started collecting
Yeah.
them?
Like, how did you get the first car?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So you got to realize, the very first Mustang thing I got, Mike Schneider gave me a Mustang book, and it was a chapter for every year, and I have it over in the library. And then at the end of that chapter, there were one or two pages that talked about what Shelby did that year, right? That's my very first Shelby thing. My second Shelby thing was the striped lightning poster.
Okay.
My third Shelby thing, I don't know if I can do
Sure.
this or not,
Yeah.
Oh
was
yeah.
this
Oh
model.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's the big GT350. I think, what is it,
Yeah, that's
112
a
scale.
beast.
Yeah.
And 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 so just starting to collect these things, not with any intent other than to enjoy them. Okay. And one thing led to another. That started when I was 17. The first car didn't come till I was 50.
Wow.
Wow.
So if you think about that, and the first car was remarkable in that I had never been to a car auction. So for my 50th birthday, Sherry Lynn, my wife, and Kyla, my daughter, said, there's a car auction, a muscle car auction in Chicago. We're going to take you there for your birthday. And I'm going, oh, I'm so excited, right? And then when I got there, I was super excited because remember I mentioned that car show
Yeah.
in Dallas. There was, at that car show, was a GT500KR convertible, lime gold, never been restored, all original. And that car was for sale at that auction. So the first day we watch things go by and I'm fascinated and I'm loving it. And so they pull the GT500KR convertible up on the block and people start bidding. And my daughter pulls out a name tag with a number and they bought
You.
it for me for my
Oh my
No
God! You got a
birthday.
way.
bidder's tag.
Wow.
You didn't even know they got a bidder's tag for you.
I didn't even
Well,
know.
well,
Didn't
that
even
tells you
know.
what kind of
And
husband and
so,
father you are to
Yeah.
your family. And William, I happen to know a lot about that. We've followed your family career and your exploits and your business, and you guys are a tight group, and they can see that it was time for you to get that car, and but that's
well,
just you'd think Mike, he got this phenomenal car. He's 50. His business is going. His family loves him. He's got a bunch of cool stuff. Would that be enough for William Deary? No.
actually, yes, it was, except, okay.
Except that one
Um,
key word.
you know,
What
yeah.
happened? What?
Um, well, the Lord allowed Sherilyn and I to build a successful healthcare company, and that brought resources to us. And so, um, I guess, in 2008, 2009, I started watching auctions and looking at what value was. And I had some resources. And so, very carefully went out and got a 67 and a 69 that I was able to purchase very well. I was the winner in both of those as opposed to the seller. And then at some point, I needed a place to put this stuff. So I was going to build a little pole barn next to my house, which then turned into this place, however that happened. And there was never an intent to have a collection or a museum. I've said it so many times, the museum built itself. It just happened. And the reason that it happened is the Mustang and the Shelby community and that group of special people. As a kid, even in my 40s, if I saw a Shelby, I would turn around, I would follow it. If it was going to the grocery store, the house, wherever it was going, and I'd pester the hell out of the people and I'd get the story. And it usually ended up with something like, hey, can I come to your house? Because I want to go get my dad's
Yeah.
camera, right? So I have slides of all of these Shelbys I've taken pictures of. I realized today, thank God, the word
Yeah.
stalker didn't
There's this
exist back
weirdo out
then.
there chasing my
Yeah.
Shelby around. Help me.
Well, but that's the point, is that never, not one time, did someone say, "Hey, look, I'm busy. Who are you? Leave me." Never. I mean, the Shelby community was so gracious. They allowed me to learn and enjoy and experience. And so, if I have a group of people in my museum every day until the day I die, I will have not done enough to
Wow.
pay back all the people that gave me experiences. And so, it was never intended to be, but the Shelby community made it
Well,
happen.
Mike and I, when we first walked through, Mike, my first thought was, and William, I appreciate you saying that, but you don't see yourself as other people do, and you are a very meticulous person. You're very definitive. And when we walked into you, I mean, I know guys have nice little shops, and sometimes they'll do a little mini museum, a man cave, but the way you've stored and shown your memorabilia, the drawer, the care, and William, it separates you from many other collectors because the attention to detail that you have given your collection. Mike, we've been to tons of these. Nobody has the time or devotion to, they just don't think to at that level of detail the way William Deary's collection. I mean, don't you agree, Mike?
The way I would describe it is perfection. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wow factor is everything you're looking at inside those cabinets and all the displays.
See, so William,
Well,
William, when you come to my garage and I'm looking for that pin, it's in one of those plastic drawers and those little metal cases, and I'm looking. It's not like your place. Mike, I knew that William separated himself in another realm in another universe when I looked into his shop, and in where he had the washer and dryer, the white. Guess
That
what?
I was bringing that up for sure. The washer
Yeah,
and dryer. Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, William Deary's washer and dryer in his shop they're white with blue Le Mans stripes on them. Who has that, Mike? Who?
wait, guys, you got to understand that's GT washer and GT dryer, okay, and they're high performance to honor my wife. So she has a high performance washer and a high performance dryer because I have high
So
performance
she
cars,
bought him
and
the car. He
it
bought her the
was really a
washer and
gift.
dryer.
It was a gift, yes.
And
That's
she
the way.
loves him.
It's
And she
nice.
loves him, and she's dedicated.
She actually did. She did love him.
So William, so when people come through, they have to. I mean, Mike's right. I don't know if you've noticed this, and you've probably been to collections. Have you walked through like a George Conrad's shop, or have you been through any of those other ones that?
You know what? It's interesting you say that because over the last 3 years, I have visited almost 100 car or transportation
Oh
museums
wow.
looking for how to really do a car museum right. And so I've got a couple hundred pictures and videos of things I've experienced. You know, the International Transportation Museum in Switzerland is remarkable. And so I'm going through the thing that still surprises me to this day is the lack of the story behind the story. And if you talk about Ferrari, okay, or you talk about modern day McLaren, the car is the story. When it comes to Shelby, and a lot about Mustang too, Mustang also, I mean, is there was a brand and there was something that made it remarkable and special and unique that you could be a part of even if you didn't own one. And that's singular in its uniqueness and what makes the Ford brand and the Mustang story really
Yeah, and so
unique.
William, that's what we want to talk about because Mike and I, we've been in these clubs, we've been in the club world, I've been at the Ford world. This is my 30th year working for Ford Motor Company, and I don't know much longer that's going to be, but my hair is the wrong color, and I know this, Mike. And Mike, this is where you and I kind of bonded. It's as much as we love the cars, as much as we love the events, and we get invited to so many things. We meet Mike, so many great people. And what do you say, Mike? The cars come and go, but the
It's the
relationships,
people. Yeah, the
the people.
cars bring us together, and it's the
But
people
more
that
than
make the
that,
relationships.
but
Yeah.
more than that, William, it's we see these cars, and now we're getting. This is how weird Mike and I have gotten. Now we're not just looking at the car and meeting the person. There's that story that when we find out about that car, every car has this unique story, and we
Look
haven't.
above John's head,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's our
There you
tagline,
go.
So
literally.
what happened, William, with us is we said, as interesting as Mustangs are in the history of Ford and Carroll Shelby and and Pernelli Jones and all the characters in this company, it's the personal stories that drove us. So we created this platform because whether you're 16 years old and you just rattle canned your SN95 and brought it to the show, or you're William Deary, the story is so deeply embedded in Mustang. We love to tell it. So you now, we're gonna tell the world, you now have kind of outthought this beautiful place you have. You've expanded it. It's fantastic. But William, is it really true now that you want to take your collection to the next level and actually build a bigger footprint and make a museum to your?
Yeah, and so one of the things, only because I was in healthcare and healthcare is so highly regulated, I understood the concept of accreditation. And early on, I wanted to know, what is a proper museum? And Central Michigan University actually has a graduate program in museum studies, and I worked with them. And so I created a chair for that program. And for 2 years, graduate students spent time in the museum helping me learn about what's a proper museum. And what's unique is that, when I when I got the 20 boxes out and said, I'm going to get this stuff organized, I thought, okay, well, what are the categories? Well, there's my cars, there's clothing, there's publications, there's memorabilia, right? And then there's, let's just call it other. Had 6 categories. And so then Excel, well, what was at that time, Lotus 123. And I started making when did I buy it? What did it cost? Right. So right now, I think there's 21 different categories that you can fill in on any given piece. And so I started doing that. And so I had this big, huge, giant spreadsheet of all of this stuff. You talk about building our company. I mean, on the bad days, and there were bad days where I remember so vividly. Sherilyn came in my office one day and she said, "Hey, I'm gonna get some subs. What you want me to get you a sub for lunch?" And I yelled at her, and why? And I stopped mid sentence. I said, "I am so sorry." I said, "I'm having a terrible day. This happened in Kokomo," and I said, "You know what? If I'm going to yell at you offering to buy me a sub, I'm just going to leave." So I came home and I came back to the museum and I had this big pile of stuff on the table that hadn't been inventoried, and so I start doing it. And Sherilyn shows up a little bit later, 5, 6 o'clock, whatever, and asks how I'm doing. I said, "I'm good. I'm just doing my cataloging." And she said, "Do you want dinner?" I said, "No, not really. No, thank you." And I said, I'll be home in a little bit." And she said, "Okay, fine." And you get lost in it. And so I don't know, an hour later, the phone rings and she says, "Are you coming home?" Because the museum's right across from my house. And I said, "Yeah, I'll come home about 9 o'clock." She said, "William, it's 2:45 in the
Wow.
morning."
No way.
And so that I had something that I could get lost in that made the world
Yep.
disappear. Okay.
And William,
And
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because many of our listeners, a lot of our Mustang fans, have that moment. I saw a guy there at the car show last weekend says, "I'll be in the garage." I mean, that's where you'll find me, and that's where, despite the pressures of the world, and no matter what's happening in our lives, sometimes that's our solace. You go in there and to get lost, to know that you, William, have that same place that we all have. It's just refreshing to know. But to take your collection and try to make that step to make it into a bona fide museum, what a challenge! I mean, is it something you want to do?
well, and we did it. So if I had public viewing hours at this museum, I could be accredited.
Wow.
The Lotus 123 became Excel, which is now a software called Past Perfect. And how I said I had 6 categories. Well, when the Central Michigan people came in, and I'm so proud of it, I've got this stuff. I mean, I've got it nailed, right? Everything I have, right? And they went, "Well, that's interesting." And they said, "There's a taxonomy." And I go, "A what?" "Well, we're going to help you understand it." And so the taxonomy, as they explain it, and this is, taxonomy for dummies, but it starts with God, and underneath God is the world. And so eventually you get to the earth. And once you get to the earth, and then you get to transportation. There are 42 categories of things in this museum under that transportation world. And Past Perfect, the software we use, is the same software used by the
Wow.
Smithsonian.
Wow.
And so being able to do that, and I hired a person that worked 5 hours a day for 3 years, cataloging everything. I wanted to do it, but I couldn't. Um, I have over 6,000 magazines, most of them with paper clips because Post-it notes
Right.
didn't exist. That paper clip is a story about a Shelby. So you talked about stories. There's 6,000 of them that have been written.
Wow.
Okay. And so um, now having the opportunity to tell that story in a real way, there's less than 1,000 pieces of artifact here between what you can see and you can't see. Um, there's over 8,000 artifacts. Okay, there's 300 pieces of Shelby and Ford clothing. Okay, about 2/3 of them are photo
Wow.
matched. So Charlie Agapu's GT40 66 Le Mans pit crew uniform and a picture of him, right? And so how do we tell these stories and how do we present them? And the thing that is really important is what I call the belt buckle club. Okay, and I don't know how it started, but I was at a car show and some little kid was oogling and ogling and little kid, and I said, "You want to get in?" Oh my God! And I said, "Hey, Dad, you got your camera?" Yeah. And so I started. If you were shorter than my belt buckle, I'd stick you in the car, tell Mom or Dad to get a picture, and really engaging that next generation. And so, and I continue to do it and getting kids engaged, right? In 2015, when we did the live axle versus the IRS rear end, and we took the cars out to Willow Springs to show them, to campaign them. Ted Sutton, who was one of the original Shelby GT350 fabricators, was there. His son Eric was there. Well, Eric's son, what's her name?
Shelby.
Yeah, she's 12, a 12-year-old girl, and she's all fascinated. And so Peter Brock was there, Gail was there, and I said, "Hey, Gail, do you have your racing helmet in the truck?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Can I get it for Shelby?" "Oh, yeah." And so she's all excited. I strap her in, I tie her down, and I'm going to take her out on Willow Springs. As I'm pulling out, Eric waves to me, and I realize nobody knows I've got their daughter in a race car. So I was careful. I hot lapped a little bit, but not enough to have her, you know, think she was screaming. Um, and she's got her phone and she's doing videos. And I come back in and I run over to Eric and say, "I'm so sorry. I should have told you." And she comes over and this girl is walking 3 feet off the ground. Can't believe it. And 4 or 5 months later, I get a thing that, she's the most popular girl in junior high, and she's got all of these videos in a race car and all of that. And what I realized is that was the 50th anniversary of the GT350.
Yeah.
Okay, right? When she's 62, she will be celebrating the
Right.
100th
Oh,
anniversary of
wow.
the GT.
And what a moment you gave her,
And so,
William.
Yeah, that'll last forever.
And Mike, think
and
about what
so,
we talk about trying to. You can't start anyone too young on the Mustang hobby. I mean, giving those little cars to the kids at Carlisle. Mike, we trying to get young kids involved. You talk about William being a brand ambassador. Ford Motor Company can't make those kinds of impacts that he's doing. And then Shelby goes out in her school, and then that then just pushed forward into another group of people. It's how the brand gets built with passionate owners like William. And then William, on top of that, I mean, all the work that goes involved in cataloging, Mike, that's even worse than your Topps baseball card collection, or your aren't you on the fantasy league football stuff with your
Yeah, but like
spreadsheet?
to
You're
relate to what William said about getting lost, I'll
yeah.
be up and in my area just sorting my cards, and I look and like he said, it's 2:45 in the morning, and I went up there at 8 o'clock. I'm like, what happened right now?
But
But I'm
so
loving every second of it. You know what I mean? You're
yeah,
like
but
you're in your realm, right?
so is Tracy going to allow you to open the Mike Ray
Baseball card
baseball
museum.
card museum? No. But William now, so William, you can. So you're actually thinking of actually taking the William Deary collection and making it into the William Deary Shelby Museum, Shelby and Ford Museum.
yep. So, yeah. So, when people come and they see this, I feel bad that they can't really appreciate all of the stories. Shelby was friends with Anna Granatelli, who owned Paxton Supercharger, right? And so there's a whole subset of artifacts and things about the Paxton Supercharger. Shelby's Chili Company. Shelby's car dealership. He owned a hotel at one point. I just learned this like 3 months ago, right? But really being able to tell the story properly. And so, in visiting all of these museums um, and learning how to really do it right, I've also learned how to do it wrong. And I won't say where I went because that's not fair. But if you've talked to me, not in public like this, I went to a museum and I was really excited to go to it because it is considered world class. And so, what this museum presents is really neat, and everybody knows it. And I got there, and it's 3 floors, and you walk up and you see a glass case with a bunch of stuff in it, and it's really cool stuff you've seen. And then there's a plaque you read. Then you go to the next glass case, and you do it. Um, I had taken a bunch of my buddies because they wanted to go there, and I said, "We're going to be here all day. Okay, if you get bored, go find a bar. I'm going to be here all day, taking notes, taking pictures." We left before lunch.
Wow.
So I also learned how
Yeah,
not to
wasn't
do a
pushing the
museum.
buttons, wasn't telling
Yeah.
the story, wasn't interactive. So, is this happening soon? Is it something we're going to make an
Yeah,
announcement about here on the podcast?
sure. Oh, so we'll do, let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. I've acquired a 20,000 square foot building in South Haven, Michigan. And the residents, the tenants, whatever, have got until the end of the month to vacate. So they've been doing that for about a month now, a little over a month now. And we are going to turn it into the most technologically advanced automotive museum
You
in the
know,
world.
like
Wow.
I told you, this guy
And
was
you heard
something
it
else.
here first.
That's right, on the Mustang. No, so not only that, so up until that point, so you're still. We know how active you are with our local Shelby group, and we know just before the Woodward Dream Cruise, you're planning to do something with your current collection and hanging out with the Shelby people before you get down to the stomping grounds that Detroit is known for, which is Woodward Avenue. Are you doing something special next month?
Yeah, so August 13th, we're doing something called the Way to Woodward, the Shelby Celebration. And Team Shelby will be bringing cars to our museum before lunch, and we'll do a big museum tour and enjoy that. I'm going to take them all out for burgers and brats after that. Then they're going to go to the Gilmore, and then coming back, we're going to have a car show on steroids in downtown Jackson. And so there will, if you register, there will be, you get a T-shirt, you get a poster, you get a dash plaque, you get an incredible goodie bag like I have never seen in at a car show. And so it'll be really unique, and we're going to limit it to probably, we have space for, we think, 350 cars. If you register a Shelby, there will be a special Shelby only display area. If you're a veteran, okay, and my mom and dad were both veterans, there's also a special display area for veterans, and veterans don't pay
Oh,
to
that's
register,
cool. That is.
and they'll get their special place to exhibit their cars and some special veteran things that we've branded. But really, it's the Thursday before the Saturday Dream Cruise, and really it really is a kickoff to the Woodward Dream Cruise and in downtown Jackson, and will be remarkable. And what's interesting about this is I put the little teaser out, and I talked with a lot of my friends that are car people. Um, I'll tell this story. I hope, can I say the name of a car
Yeah.
dealership? Okay. So I'm talking to Randy Coons, who owns Seymour Ford here in Jackson, and he saw my email and he called and said, "Hey, I'll do this." He says, "I'll go ahead. I'll be a $1,000 sponsor." And I told him thank you, and I said, "We're really excited. We're going to celebrate the Shelby brand, and the other thing is veterans, and I just don't think veterans get the respect and the consideration they should. We're going to do really cool stuff for veterans." And Randy goes, "Well, William, if it's a veteran thing, I'm not so sure." And it kind of stunned me a little bit. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "So tell me about the veteran thing." I told him about it. He said, "Well, yeah, veterans." He said, "Put me in for the $3,000 level instead of the one
Wow.
thousand
That's
dollar
awesome.
level."
That,
And so really honoring them. So we will do some pretty remarkable stuff. Jackson Public Schools marching band's going to come and do, the honor guard and Star Spangled Banner national anthem,
wow.
and we'll have raffles every 15 minutes for registered cars with a real. I was trying to think what's a really cool raffle prize, and one of the people I was talking about said, do you have a car fire extinguisher? I said, I have them in
Yeah.
all my cars. He said, you know how hard they are to find? So I bought them every 15 minutes. We'll pull a car
Yeah.
number and you'll get a
Something
fire
really
extinguisher for
useful.
your car
Yep.
built for
Yeah.
your
You know,
car.
Mike, we should have
So
known that if William Deary had anything to do with an event like this, that it would be over the top, just like his collection, just like his devotion to Ford and to the Mustang and to the Shelby brand, and just like he's doing with his collection moving into a museum. William, we can't thank you enough for sharing some of this information. We'll get the info from Team Shelby and get it and put it in our description. So check that down below. We can't wait to hook up with you. Maybe show a little bit of our podcast audience what we're talking about when they talk about the collection. And if they haven't heard about William Deary and his collection now, they're going to hear about it in the future. We're so pleased you spent your very wonderful evening with us to share some of these stories. Thank you so much for appearing on the Mustang Owners Podcast.
well, I want to thank both of you, but I really want to thank the Shelby community, the Ford community, Ford Motor Company. Um, they have extended to us untold consideration, and it really is a privilege to be a part of this and to really pay back and pay forward all the special considerations that have been provided to me as I've stalked you back to your house or bugged the hell out of you at a convention.
We love when you call. Sometimes you ask a lot, William, but we still love you. Thanks again for joining us. Mike, thanks for hooking up with
Thank you.
William. Let's
It's
keep
always
this
a
going.
pleasure. Yeah.
Here's a Mustang story that everybody can get behind and love. And if they can't connect with this, then they're on the wrong podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
William Deary, folks, you heard it here first. So I appreciate all this special time. And you're gonna be hearing a lot more about this. So until next time, folks, we're just gonna have to catch you down the road.